Nagbabalik na naman ang inyong tagapaglingkod ng mga balita at pawang katotohanan lamang. Naging mainit nga usapin sa mundo ng social media. Grabe talaga to. Umaalab ngayon ang balita matapos kumampi si Kuting kay Soso sa gitna ng iskandalong kinakaharap neto. Ayon sa mga nakasaksi, tila desperado raw si Kuting na ipagtanggol si Soto kahit malinaw ang mga ebidensya laban sa kanya. Galit na galit si Marcoleta nang malaman ito at hindi mapigilan maglabas ng matinding pahayag. Hindi ko papayagang takpan ang katotohanan. Sigaw ni Marcoleta sa isang press conference. Maraming netizens ang salita ng hindi magaganda sa gitna sa galit at tinawag ang pagtatanggol ni Kuting na pagtataksil sa bayan. Ayon pa sa mga ulat, may mga dokumentong pinipigilang ilabas na maaaring magpabagsak kay Soto. Habang patuloy ang sigalot, mas lalong uminit ang bangayan sa pagitan ng dalawang kampo. Si Marcoleta, determinado raw na ilantad ang lahat ng baho kahit sino pa ang masagasahan. Walang itinatago ang totoo. Dagdag pa niya, samantala nananatiling tikom ang bibig ni Kuting matapos ang controversial niyang pahayag. Maraming mamamayan ang umaasang lalabas ang buong katotohanan sa mga susunod na araw. Ang tanong ngayon, bakit nga ba todo-todo ang pagtatanggol ni Kuting kay Soto? Habang lumalalim ang imbestigasyon, mas lalo ring umiinit ang emosyon ng publiko. Well mga kaibigan, para nga sa karagdagang impormasyon, panoorin natin ang buong video. At kung bago ka pa lamang sa aking channel, huwag kalimutan i-click ang subscribe button at notification bell para lagi kang updated sa ating mga bagong video. At para sa solid viewers natin dyan, maraming salamat sa walang sawang pagsuporta.
Hindi ko po nabalitaan na meron pala siyang planong mag-file ng impeachment complaint laban sa Pangulo.
Pero kung sakaling meron man, hindi uusad yan.
Hindi po priority ang impeachment ngayon sapagkat ang dami po nating hinaharap na problema ng ating bansa.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, maraming salamat po sa oras, sir.
Alam ninyo, gagawa na naman kayo ng katarantaduhan ninyo. Kapag na-file yung impeachment, kailangan kaagad na isumite dyan sa speaker. Hindi pwedeng ipag-banjing-banjing yan. Mauulit na naman yung ginawa ninyo kay Sara Duterte. Di ba mga ka-reaction to si Bonjing D? Alam ninyo mga ka-reaction, ayan, tingnan ninyo yung kamalasan ni Bangag. Meron na naman pong lindol sa Davao. Napakalakas po ng lindol sa Davao mga ka-reaction. Ito po, panoorin po natin ha. Panoorin po natin tong lindol na nangyari sa Davao. Mga ka-reaction. Yan o.
Guys, linog.
Tignan natin ngayon kung pupunta si Bangag dyan sa Davao.
Tabang, Lord.
Davao City po.
Lord. Tabang, Lord. Lord. Tabang, Lord.
Nakatawa po, lakas daw po eh. 6.7 ba? 7.6, napakalakas.
Tabang.
Malakas na siya na.
Lord. 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 Kami pamilya, Lord. Lord. Maloy ka sa mua, Lord. Lord. Maloy ka sa mua, Lord. Lord. God-bless mo, Lord. Salamat kayo. Ipondang ni mo, Lord. Tamang naog, naog. Lord. Sug kayo, Lord. Salamat kay Lord. 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 Wala. Jesus, Lord.
Yan na po sinasabi natin mga ka-reaction. Nagkakanda malas-malas na itong bansa natin na ano na tayo, na nadadamay na ang buong Pilipinas sa mga karma. Mga karma ni nung sino man yung nakakarma. Alam nyo mga ka-reaction, kamalasan po kasi ang pagnanakaw eh. Kamalasan ang pagnanakaw. Ngayon tingnan natin si Bangag kung pupunta siya dyan sa may Davao. Tingnan natin kung kaya niyang harapin si Paulo tsaka si Pulong. Tignan natin. Tignan natin si Banga kung kaya niyang harapin si Paulo Duterte tsaka si Basti Duterte dyan sa Davao. Tignan natin kung kaya niyang puntaan yung dalawang yan. Tignan po natin mga kareaksyon kung kaya niyang puntaan yung dalawang yan. Kasi mga kareaksyon, dyan sa Davao alam po natin kaya nila yan. Kaya lang siyempre, kailangan pa rin naman ang suporta ng national government. Pero, tingnan natin, palagay ko hindi pupunta si Bangag dyan pustahan tayo. Natatakot sa mga Duterte yan Natatakot sa mga Duterte yan. Iharap mo yung isang adik sa mga... Iharap mo yung isang adik sa mga galit sa drugs. Ganon, mga kareaksyon. O, di ba?
Yung comment lang dun sa mga senators na may lookout bulletin. For example, may mga senators na pinapalookout bulletin ng ICI. Sila Senator Jinggoy, Senator Cheese.
Ganun ba? I don't know. I haven't heard that.
Sir, ano po yung iba na pag-usapan sa caucus? Ano pa po yung ibang mga importante na pag-usapan?
Budget. We wanted to make sure that there will be a very 2026 clean budget.
May deadline kayo sa budget committee hearings kung kailan matatapos? Kailan
Sana
po?
by the second week of November.
Committee hearings yun, SB? Yung second week of November?
Dapat tapos na yung mga committee hearings.
SB, may panawagan po ang INC na buksan sa publiko yung pagdinig ng ICI. Your comment lang po, sir.
Yun din yung sinabi ko Mga 2 days ago pa, di ba? Sinabi ko na dapat mas maganda malaman ng publiko ano nangyayari sa ICI.
SP, kas na lang din kay appointment ni Remulla.
Ano?
Appointment ni Remulla sa ombudsman.
He's going to be a very good tribune and protector of the truth.
Very good daw, protector. Protector daw si Remulla. Sabi ni Wambol, Itbulaga Wambol University Scholar. Very good protector daw. Nanggaling sa kanya, very good protector.
Nagkausap na kayo ni Tito Sen tungkol po dun sa pag-upo nyo muna bilang acting chairman.
Opo. Actually, nag-usap po kami sa kanina at sabi niya na wala raw napili. Sabi ko, medyo mabigat po na
Hindi, walang hindi napili. Ayaw harapin si Marcoleta. Takot kayong harapin si Marcoleta, kayong lahat.
Responsibilidad yan. Sabi ko, for now, okay lang maging acting chairman tayo habang wala pa kayong napipili. Na I'm sure Sir Tol, marami namang mas magagaling pa dyan at mga veterano na mga senador.
So, ibig sabihin, you will give way kung sakaling may ibang interesadong umupo as chairman?
Alam ko pong mas magagaling. Siyempre, yung experience pala, years of experience. I'm happy po. With that announcement kanina. Pero sabi ko po, kung ano hong maganda, I'll leave it to the Senate leadership, lalo sa kanya. Pero, yun nga po, it's all about investigation. So, sanay naman din ho tayo pag ganyan as a media man ho. So, we can, kung talagang push comes to shove, kung wala na po talaga mapili, siguro I'll take po the job. Hindi mo po pwedeng walang kukuha ng trabaho. Siguro kung wala na po talaga mapili. I believe po, si Senator Pia sa press con kanina, narinig ko, sabi niya, she will take the job.
Tama na! Ben Bending Dalo. Bending Dalo ka naman di ba? Tama na. Stop na. Ito na po mga kareaksyon si Kiko Barsaga, mga kareaksyon na kung saan talagang nakatikim itong si Garin. Binanatan po niya itong si Garin sa kanyang paggisa dito sa PCO. Nako, mga malupit po ito. Panoorin po natin, ito po mga reaksyon. Ito na po mga reaksyon. Nako, mga reaksyon, nakala po ni Remulla, ligtas na po siya sa disbarment. Panoorin po natin ito. Napakatalino talaga ni Mayor Baste tsaka nitong si Atty. Torion. Panoorin po natin at pakinggan po natin ang explanasyon ni Atty. Torion na kung saan hindi pa ligtas itong si Remulla. Nako, mga reaksyon.
Pong nakabimbing disbarment case laban kay dating Justice Secretary Boying Remulla dahil sa pag-aresto at pagsuko ng gobyerno kay FPRRD sa ICC. Ngayong ombudsman na si Remulla, ano na kaya ang mangyayari sa kasong ito? Makakausap natin ang complainant na si Attorney Israelito Torion. Attorney Torion, magandang gabi po sa inyo at maraming salamat sa oras.
Hi, magandang gabi po, ma'am. Good evening, everyone.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
So, first of all, nag-file nga ho kayo ng kaso laban kay Justice Secretary Boying Remulla then, na ngayon po ay ombudsman na. What will happen to that? Magiging moot ho ba yun?
No. It will remain pending before the Supreme Court. And as you know, I was not the one who filed it. I was acting as the lawyer of the complainant, who happened to be the family of the Duterte. And specifically, it was acting Mayor Sebastian Baste Duterte, who is the private complainant in that case, or who is rather the complainant in that case. And even if he is already the ombudsman now, that case will continue because that appertains to his action as a lawyer. We are attacking his license as a lawyer. Yun po ang mangyayari po dun.
Ano ho yung, so it basically it's an active case kahit na po ombudsman na si Attorney Boying Remulla. For the benefit of the people watching, sabihin po natin, i-disbar siya. Sabihin po pumanig ang Korte Suprema dito sa petisyon ni Baste Duterte. What happens? How does that affect his role as ombudsman?
Well, if you will check Section 8 of Article 11 of the 1987 Constitution, one of the requirements is that he must be a member of the Philippine Bar and that he must have been in the practice of law for 10 years, no? So if he is no longer a lawyer, then that would disqualify him as an ombudsman. So if the Supreme Court would decide that his action would, or his actions rather in the past, I would not comment on the specifics of it because it is what you call this confidential in nature, but I'm just discussing the effects or consequence if he would be disbarred, then he would no longer qualify as an ombudsman because it is a continuing requirement. But what we will actually do, subject to the order of our client or request of our client, and supposedly tonight we have a meeting, but it was moved tomorrow. We will still question his appointment as an ombudsman. There is a quarrel as to whether or not it is a petition for quo warranto or certiorari. We will decide that by tomorrow. And we will definitely file that petition before the Supreme Court.
Ano ho yung basihan ng posibleng quo warranto o certiorari laban dito sa pagtalaga?
Quo warranto may not be the proper remedy to my mind. No? Of course, that is subject also to a discussion with my fellow lawyers who are handling the case. Because under Rule 66 of the Rules of Court, specifically Section 1 thereof, it mandates that it will be the Office of the Solicitor General who should file the same. Or if not, it would be under Section 5, the person who has a clear legal right of the position. But I don't expect anyone who was not appointed, which was included in the list, short list, there were 7. I don't think any of the 6 would be willing to file that petition for quo warranto. And I don't think that the Solicitor General likewise under Rule 66 would file that petition. So we have another option. And I believe that under Article 8, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution, a petition for certiorari may be appropriate in questioning his being shortlisted by the Judicial and Bar Council. So that would be maybe the tenor of the petition.
Ano ho ba para sa kaalaman natin ang petition for certiorari? At bakit ho ito posibleng...
Sa mga estudyante po ng batas, any branch of the government can be questioned under the expanded concept. Maski executive department yan, supposedly under Rule 65, judicial or quasi-judicial functions lang ang covered. Pero kung ibase mo dito under Article 8, Section 1, expanded na po yung konsepto po ng certiorari. So kung any branch, even the executive department of the government, would commit grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction, then it can be subjected to a certiorari proceeding under Article 8, Section 1. Pwede na yan i-question sa Supreme Court.
And who is going to be guilty of this grave abuse of discretion?
Well, the JBC, including the ombudsman for issuing the, the clearance, even if we filed a complaint last September 15. And there was an order to undocket the case on September 16. Tapos si Acting Ombudsman Vargas perhaps realized that there was a May 5, 2025 memorandum order of then Ombudsman Martires ordering twin docketing of criminal administrative cases. On September 17, he issued a office order which provided for retroactive effect. Tapos 10 days lang, selective pang pagka-undocket kasi yung final ni Secretary Vince Dizon noong September 11 against DPWH officials at meron pang preventive suspension, hindi na undocket. Paano nangyari yun? Yung COA fraud report which was filed on September 7, hindi rin na-undocket. Yung sa amin lang yung in-undocket. So it was a clear abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction.
Pero
Ngayon
dalawa
lang yan.
po, Attorney Torion, two people, I mean two groups. One would be the acting ombudsman, yung former acting ombudsman, and the
Yes.
JBC.
Yes, and the JBC for including him in the shortlist, even if we wrote a letter informing them that we already filed criminal administrative complaints against against Remulla.
Against then Justice Secretary Boying Remulla.
Yes.
So yung petition for certiorari, you plan to file this possibly tomorrow or maybe next week?
Depende po yan sa kliyente namin.
Okay.
Depende po sa kliyente namin. Siya kasi ang mag-decide niyan, hindi
And
po ako.
ang kliyente niyo po si Acting Mayor?
Acting Mayor Sebastian
Basta-
Duterte.
All right. So it will be up to him. So to be clear, attorney, ito ho bang pag-file ng mga motion or kaso laban kay Ombudsman Boying Remulla, is it really to prevent him from being
No.
chosen as the
No,
ombudsman?
consequence lang po yun. Offshoot lang po yun. Kasi yung pag-kidnap kay Tatay Digong, honestly, the next day noon may mga criminal cases na akong na-prepare, no? At saka admin case. Pero at that time, hindi pa po ready yung Duterte family to file criminal and admin cases, no? But one of them told me, just prepare and we will just decide later on. So, nakahanging lang po yun. And then lately, nag-decide na yung pamilya through Acting Mayor Sebastian Duterte na mag-file na. Kaya final namin yung criminal and admin cases last September 15. And the option to file such criminal administrative cases as well as disbarment cases lies with the family because kidnapping cases has a long prescriptive period under Article 90 of the Revised Penal Code.
How long
Within
is
the
the-
20-year period, pwede nila i-file yan. Sa kanila
20?
kasi yun eh.
20, did you say 20-year period, prescriptive period?
20-year period kung grave offenses po yun.
Attorney, any reaction by the family, on behalf of the family, dito po sa pagtalaga kay Boying Remulla as ombudsman?
Well, makikita naman doon sa interview ata ni VP Sara, hindi sila masaya. Oo, hindi sila masaya. Yun lang po.
And sa mga nagtanong po sa media, kay Ombudsman Boying Remulla, ano yung mga kailangan niyang unahin at least na tingnan dito sa mga binareklamo before the office of the Ombudsman? There were two that are being mentioned, sir. Care to react. One is the formally issue and the other one is the confidential funds of Vice President Sara Duterte. Go ahead,
Pero
sir.
ang pagkasabi nga ma'am, yung SALN daw niya ang titingnan kaagad nung first interview niya. Later na lang yung formally. Yung first interview niya, titingnan daw yung yung SALN daw ni VP Sara. Sa kadami-dami naman natin ang problema, yung fund control issue, no? Na trilyones na yung problema natin, yung pang SALN ni VP Sara yung uunahin niya. Para may problema tayo dito. Yung sa formally, well, it may be a legitimate issue. He can go against it because we do not tolerate or condone corruption. If there is indeed corruption dun, imbestigahan niya. Pero sana maging fair siya because under the 1987 Constitution, he is supposedly the protector of the people, no? And he should investigate yung pinakagrabe po na nangyari po dito sa ating bansa. Yung yung flood control issue, dapat doon siya tututok. Kasi yun talaga sana yung mandate niya. Protector siya ng people. Grabe yung nanggawa sa atin na kaguluhan at grabe yung sakit na nararanasan ng mga Pilipino dahil sa continuous na pagbaha. Sana maging fair siya because one of the requirements of an ombudsman is recognized probity and independence. So this is his golden chance to prove that he is in fact independent-minded and that he would go against corrupt people really, and not to make his office as an office of persecution and harassment against the political opponents.
Is there any concern that the office of the Ombudsman under Boying Remulla might not be fair, might not be neutral, or might be even be biased? Meron ho bang ganon? Meron ho bang concern?
Ako personally, pwede ako makasabi may concern kasi nangyari yan sa akin sa kaso doon ni Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy Kasi yung sa kaso ni Pastor, medyo masabi mo talaga na kasi na-dismiss na yung kaso, bigla na lang binuhay after nung investigation ni Senator Hontiveros. And pag more than 3 years na yung natutulog, yung petition pa nga, defective pa nga, dapat ma-dismiss yun ordinarily, binuhay niya, and then in less than 1 week, may warrant na si Pastor. Yung MR namin motion for reconsideration, hanggang ngayon, hindi niya i-rule. Kasi sa tingin namin, kung i-rule niya, pwede na kami mag-certiorari doon sa, sa Court of Appeals, sa alleging grave abuse of discretion on his part. Hindi niya inaksyonan yun hanggang ngayon. So ako personally, I cannot speak for the Duterte family, pero yung yung kanyang action in the past, may concern ako.
Last question, Attorney Torion. Last I heard, your client, Pastor Apollo Kibuloy, ay nagkaroon po ng pneumonia at inilabas sa Pasig City Jail and was in a hospital that was not identified. At least I didn't see which hospital that was. Where is he now? Is he back in...
He is still in the hospital po kasi medyo mainit talaga din doon sa sa Pasig City Jail. Although mababait yung mga BJMP officers po doon. No, pero wala tayong magawa. Medyo marami masyadong preso doon. Kaya it has really affected the health of my client. And right now, he is recuperating in the hospital po.
And how long has it been? It's been about 3 weeks, huh?
I was not able to count exactly, but he is still in the hospital ngayon po.
And is he getting better?
Pagpunta ko po sa kanya kahapon ba yun or last matagal kami nag-usap 2 days ago to be exact, or was it yesterday? Umuubo pa po si Pastor Apollo Sikibuloy, necessitating his continued stay in the hospital.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. Attorney Israelito.
Audience, what exactly the PCO, can you provide a brief explanation to the audience of what are the tasks of the PCO?
Your Honor, the PCO is the President's arm in promoting transparency and accountability in his policies, as well as, they serve as the window to show his most important future plans. They ensure that all regions in the country have access to commercial media, and they provide the vital information for all the help the public can get for the government's policy.
Mm-hmm. So is it purely for domestic or also for international purposes?
For both, Your Honor.
For both. Okay. And as you previously mentioned in one of the previous interpellators, there is a need for the budget due to ASEAN. What exactly will you be doing there?
We are gunning for a seat, a non-permanent seat, because a UN Security Council seat, we could gain substantial influence by participating directly in decision-making in pressing global issues. We can the country can have a platform to advance its foreign policy objectives and promote our national interests within the global security framework, which is very, very important for the issues we face now, Your Honor.
So the purpose of it is for the UN Security Council seat. Will it be done through ASEAN?
No, magkaiba yun, Your Honor. Of course, we will use the ASEAN, of course, to put us in a good light, in a way, to justify Of course, if we are put in a good light, it is in a form of like a public relations, so we can showcase to the world why we should be nominated and elected for a seat in the UN Council, Your Honor.
So the ASEAN is the necessary initial step in our country's publicity on the international stage, which would lead to a higher chance of getting the UN Security Council seat.
No, we have already initiated, affirmed our hosting, our schedule. We are really scheduled to host for the ASEAN for 2026, Your Honor.
And on what basis are you stating that hosting the ASEAN would increase our chances of getting a UN Security Council seat?
Sorry, Your Honor, can you repeat your question?
On what basis are you assuming that hosting the ASEAN and providing a successful event for the ASEAN will increase our chances of getting a UN Security Council seat?
There's no assurance, complete assurance, Your Honor, if that is what you're asking. The ASEAN next year is a different one than for our bid for the UN Security Council seat. We are just putting our country in a good light, of course. Hindi naman po maganda na hindi rin po tayo being the host of the ASEAN in May. Hindi rin po maganda na hindi naman po natin ilalagay ang sariling atin in the best possible light. Po, Your Honor.
Okay, but my question still remains, is the budget for the ASEAN or for the purpose of securing a UN Security Council seat?
Your Honor, it's mostly ASEAN po. Sa ASEAN po, yung budget po ng PCO, Your Honor.
So the potential of securing a Security Council seat is only speculation, it's only a bonus if ever we were to succeed.
Magkakasama po sila. Of course, again, it's no guarantee. Bid lang po natin yun sa yung UN Security Council non-permanent seat, Your Honor.
But if there is a direct correlation, or if you're unsure if there's a direct correlation to our success in the ASEAN to the UN Security Council seat, then you're just basing it purely on speculation. You cannot base such a large budget of 2.7 billion on speculation whether or not we would get the UN Security Council seat.
With the indulgence of the Honorable Kiko Barzaga, if he may allow me, just to align everything, I believe the sponsor mentioned the total budget of the PCO, including its attached agencies and corporations, and that's the more than 2 billion. Can the distinguished sponsor confirm this? Can the distinguished sponsor confirm it? It's the total budget of the PCO, including attached agencies and corporations.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Yes. However, incorporated in the budget, as the concern of the Honorable Barzaga has stated earlier, is a budget for the ASEAN. Does this mean that the Philippines is hosting ASEAN meetings and gathering?
Yes, Your Honor. We have 167 clusters of meetings for the ASEAN.
Okay,
so
that for that, just to clarify the Honorable Barzaga's question, how much within the budget of the PCO will be allocated for the ASEAN? Maybe a ballpark figure. And am I correct, Honorable Kiko Barzaga? That's the contention that you would like to pursue.
Yes, so the problem here is creating a budget based on speculation. If one of our goals is the UN Security Council and ASEAN is just a speculative case for that, or for our chance of getting a seat in the UN Security Council, then the portion intended for ASEAN is just based on speculation.
Well, with the indulgence of the distinguished sponsor, actually the ASEAN is a different entity. The UN Security Council is a seat that every country aspires, but there's no corresponding budget for that. The ASEAN is a platform where all governments can talk to each other, lobby with each other, and put forward the interests of our country above our neighboring ASEAN countries. Distinguished sponsor,
that is correct. For clarity, the Deputy Speaker has clarified everything, Your Honor.
Okay, so it is completely separate that our purposes for hosting the ASEAN is not directly not directly connected to our desire for UN Security Council seat. Am I correct?
Can you repeat that again, Your Honor? Sorry.
Our purposes and our budget allocation for the hosting of ASEAN is not directly connected to our desire for a UN Security Council seat.
That is correct, Your Honor.